You know how everyone says that your family is supposed to be your safe place? Well, that didn't hold up for me when my mom changed the locks on the house and told me I had no home anymore. I never expected it would end with me suing her and walking away with a third of the house. But let me start from the beginning before we continue. Please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening. Your support means everything. I always thought I had a pretty good relationship with my mom. Like, it wasn't perfect. But whose family dynamic really is? We had our ups and downs, sure. My dad left when I was a kid, and it was just me and her. Over the years, we built a sort of codependent routine. She'd rely on me to help with things around the house, and I'd need her to back me up when things got tough in my personal life. It wasn't ideal, but it was familiar, and familiarity felt safe. But everything shifted a few years ago when I lost my job. I was working for a startup that crashed and burned faster than I could blink, and suddenly I was back in the same town, living with my mom at 28. I thought it'd be temporary, a few months tops, until I found something new. But the months stretched on. I applied for job after job and nothing panned out. It's hard to keep your head up when you're facing constant rejection. As the weeks bled into months, I became more and more dependent on her. I tried my best to pay my share of bills, to contribute. But I wasn't in a position to help much financially. My mom, on the other hand, was growing more and more resentful. At first, she'd joke about how I was a boomerang kid who never left. But after a while, her comments turned sour. The subtle passive-aggressive remarks about me not pulling my weight started getting harder to ignore. One evening, after a long day of job hunting and feeling like a failure, I came home to a situation I didn't expect. I opened the door to find the locks had been changed. Simple but devastating. I stood in the entryway, dumbfounded. "Mum?" I called out, but she didn't answer. I knocked on her bedroom door, gently at first. "Mom?" I said again, more urgently. She opened the door, her face a mixture of frustration and exhaustion. "I changed the locks," she said, like it was no big deal. "You don't live here anymore." I stared at her, unable to comprehend what I was hearing. "What do you mean? I don't live here anymore." My voice was shaking. "You're an adult now. You need to figure things out on your own. You've been here for months without any sign of progress. I'm done helping you." The words hit me harder than I could have anticipated. My throat felt tight, and for a second, I thought I might pass out. "Mom, you can't just kick me out. I don't have anywhere to go. I'm trying, I really am, but things are hard right now." Her expression was unmoved. "That's not my problem. You're not a kid anymore. Figure it out." It was like the earth beneath me had just crumbled away. I had no job, no savings, no friends who could take me in, and I had nowhere else to go. I don't know how long I stood there. It felt like hours, but in reality it was probably just a few minutes. I knew I wasn't going to get through to her. My mom was stubborn. Once her mind was made up, there was no changing it. The middle. The fight for my home. The next few weeks were a blur. I crashed at a friend's place for a while, but that didn't last long. I couldn't ask for much more help. I felt like I was wearing out my welcome. I barely slept. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how it had come to this. I started making calls. Every option felt like a dead end. And then one day, it hit me. My mum had essentially just kicked me out of my childhood home. But it was still her house, right? No, it wasn't. Not entirely. I didn't know much about property law, but I knew enough to understand that this was a question of ownership. I'd grown up in that house. Half of that house had been mine. And I wasn't just going to let her toss me out like this. I started researching. I dug into everything I could about family homes and inheritance, property rights, and real estate law. After a few weeks, I had enough information to get started. I called a lawyer. At first, they seemed skeptical. "You want to sue your mom?" They asked as though the very idea was absurd. I nodded. "Yes, I'm not asking for much. I just want what's mine." The lawyer helped me understand the legal side of things. My mom owned the house outright, but the property had been in our family for generations. She had no right to just erase my stake in it, not without some consequences. After a few months of back and forth, with my mom refusing to negotiate or even talk to me, we went to court. The day of the hearing was the first time I saw my mom in person since the whole ordeal began. She looked just as angry and defiant as I remembered, but there was something else in her eyes too. Hurt. A deep, profound hurt that I hadn't expected. She took the stand first, explaining that I was lazy and had been a burden on her for years. I tried to stay calm, even though my heart was pounding in my chest. I wasn't here to fight about who was right or wrong. I was here because I had a right to be. When it was my turn, I explained everything as clearly and honestly as I could. "I don't want to take everything from her," I told the judge, my voice steady but emotional. "I just want what's fair. I've lived here my entire life. I've contributed to this house in every way I could, even if it wasn't always financial." The judge seemed to understand. After hours of deliberation, it came down to this: a 35% stake in the house. That's what I was entitled to, and that's what I walked away with. When the verdict came down, I couldn't believe it. I had won. A part of me felt guilty, but the other part felt vindicated. I had fought for myself, for my right to be treated with respect. Not the money from the settlement didn't change my life overnight, but it gave me a foundation. It gave me a chance to rebuild, to start fresh. I put it toward moving into my own place, something that had seemed impossible before. I eventually found a new job. I'm not saying everything is perfect, but I'm in a better place now than I was before. But here's the twist. My mom didn't give up. She didn't apologize or even acknowledge the pain she caused me. But a few months after the court ruling, I received a letter from her. It was an olive branch, sort of. She wrote, "I guess I was wrong. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe there's still time for us to fix things. I don't know if things will ever go back to how they were before, or if they ever should. But I guess it's a start. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm finally standing on my own 2 feet." And that's how it went down. I went from being kicked out of my childhood home with nowhere to turn to suing my own mom and walking away with 35% of the house. It was a wild ride. Honestly, I don't even know how I got through it. But here I am, alive, well, and ready to move forward. Family is complicated, but sometimes you have to fight for yourself, even if it means taking on the people who are supposed to have your back.